The Olympics are coming to America. At this moment, thousands of athletes are training, working, sacrificing all for one brief moment of glory. It's the moment when they stake everything on becoming champion. It happens once in a lifetime, maybe twice, no more. It's the Olympic moment, a prelude to glory. Throughout this series, you will meet those athletes and witness their struggle for that ultimate moment in sport. Of all the athletic competitions devised by man, one stands out as the ultimate test of an athlete, the decathlon. The Los Angeles Memorial Coliseum, one of the sites chosen for the 1984 Summer Olympics. It was built originally for the 1932 Olympics. 50 years ago, Jim Bausch won the decathlon here. In stadiums like this all around the world, decathlon champions have competed for the title of the greatest athlete in the world. Of all the decathlon champions, the first, and perhaps the greatest, was Jim Thorpe in 1912. He won both the decathlon and the pentathlon with a score double out of his nearest competitor. His legendary performance has never been equaled. From the beginning, the United States has produced more than its share of great decathletes. The perseverance and self-motivation necessary to be a great decathlete seems to blend well with a rugged individualism so prevalent in the American character. Bob Mathias was a 17-year-old schoolboy when he won in 1948. He is still the only person to win 2 decathlon titles. Rafer Johnson, who won in 1960 at Rome after a grueling competition. Bill Toomey won at Mexico City in 1968. Bruce Jenner took the gold medal in 1976 at Montreal. The decathlon is the supreme test because it's made up of 10 different events. It takes 2 days to run 100 meters flat out, fly in the long jump, catapult the shot put, soar in the high jump, grind out a 400-meter run, and on the second day, bound over large objects in the 110-meter high hurdles, launch the discus, catapult in the pole vault, sling the javelin, and finish with a 1,500-meter ordeal. It's difficult to imagine the dedication, the talent, and the drive necessary to master the complexities of 10 separate events. At the campus of the University of California at Santa Barbara, there is a training camp especially for the decathlon. Here, training is intense. The camp is run by Coach Sam Adams, who was at one time a world-class decathlete himself. Coach Adams sets high standards because he's used to champions. He's the man who trained Bill Toomey, the swiftest decathlete ever to win a gold medal. Decathletes come from all over the world to train with Coach Adams. Decathletes like Sean Carlin, the Irish national decathlon champion, and Tony Allen Cooksey, who was ranked number 3 in the U.S. in training for 4 years.
I think the training itself was harder than the decathlon. Getting up, for example, and running at 5 o'clock in the morning, say before you go to work. Yeah, it hurts. It hurts sometimes. But other times it's fun. Not just the pain, that's not very much fun, but it's fun to come out to the track and do something every day that you love, and then go home and think about it and say, well, did I do it right? Can I do it better? I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't enjoy it. There's no way. I wouldn't go through the track and go through that pain if it wasn't some kind of enjoyment out of it.
Robert Baker is in his 8th year of training. he runs the 1,500 meters faster than any of the gold medal winning decathletes of history. His best time is 14 seconds faster than Bruce Jenner's 1,500 meter record.
The toughest part of the training for me is probably the mental aspect of it. Mentally getting yourself to perform the physical.
Mike Brown has been training for 4 years. The very first time he tried a decathlon, he scored higher than Bob Mathias did when he won the 1948 Olympic gold medal.
Competition is fun. I mean, yeah, I look forward to it, and you put all these hours on the track just waiting for that opportunity, and you get psyched for it. I mean, you just look forward to it. You're ready to, chew steel. Going through a training session and running, a certain workout, and your legs are sore, and your butt is sore. Maybe I'd like to make a little bit more money and live like a normal person, and have a car and have a stereo and things like that. But I enjoy what I'm doing.
Each of these decathletes has winning potential, but there is much more to it than that, as Coach Adams explains.
You have 10 events to train for. You have one person that you're training for those 10 events. And the most difficult thing in setting up a training program is to be able to blend all of the training for all those 10 events into a program that does not destroy the decathlete, destroy him physically, mentally. That is the most difficult part. So you have to utilize training devices which you use for sprinting to supplement those that you use for hurdling and jumping. They all blend in together if you will let them blend in together. You can't train as a shot putter trains. You can't train as a high jumper trains. You can't train as a pole vaulter trains. You must train as a decathlete trains.
A proper decathlon training program covers 4 major areas, including 3 days a week in the weight room.
Strength is a definite factor in a lot of the events, and the weight training program has to, out of necessity, be a program that covers not just your abdominals or your legs or your arms. It has to cover your entire body, and not just the extensors, but both extensors and flexors.
It's power. Track and field is power. You got to throw. You got to jump. That's all power. Running is power, and that's what decathlon is made of. You got to be as strong as possible.
The stronger you are, the easier it's going to be to run, to throw, to jump. It's that simple.
The second phase of a decathlete's program is the running training.
The running is one of the real keys to conditioning in the decathlon. The 100 meters, the 400 meters, the hurdles, and the 1,500 meters. Almost all of the other events involve running of some type or another. We relate a lot of our running to sprint mechanics because 9 of the 10 events in the decathlon are explosive events.
Sometimes your one leg will take about 5 times the weight of the human body on it.
That's good. Good arm action. Yeah, hands back a little more. Right. Good. Knees.
Special drills are performed to strengthen the muscles. They are repeated over and over so that nerves and muscles can find the grooves in the motion and make it easier. The third phase of decathlon training concentrates on increasing the ability to jump.
It is hard to train a person how to jump. There's a type of training that's called plyometric training. In plyometric training, there are many methods of doing plyometrics. You can bounding over hurdles, bounding along the ground.
You have to get your body used to jumping. Okay, once your body is used to that, then your muscles will react to that. A lot of times in the beginning of the year, we do a lot of plyometrics in September and October, and the next day we can't even walk.
This conditions the joints to trauma, and jumping creates trauma.
In the years past, the physical was more important. In other words, the person who was strong and fast would beat a person with technique. But nowadays, the technique is a lot more important because everyone's strong and fast now.
The technical part of training helps the decathlete to master the sometimes difficult techniques of throwing and jumping. This is where improvement counts the most.
You can do it. You either do it just a rotation.
Yeah.
There has to be a great deal of time spent on learning, first of all, the fundamental principles of each event. We're talking about the shot put. We have to learn first how to hold the implement. Second, that the implement is put, not thrown. And then you go into the more advanced things like the slide across the ring.
And you're still structuring it a little bit.
Yeah.
You're still structuring it out here instead of bringing the shoulder right across in front of your chin.
Well, am I rushing it too much from here then to get rid of the shot rather than
Probably,
pulling
yeah.
right through?
Yeah.
So I'm moving too quick here instead of bringing it from here right through here.
You want to have a feeling during your strike action that you're slapping the shot with your hand.
Yeah.
You're slapping it with your
Getting-
hand instead of pushing it.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
Hurling a 16-pound steel ball is child's play compared to one event that's considered to be the most dangerous in the decathlon. Coming up next on the Olympic Moment.
There are all kind of horror stories about the pole vault. It is the most dangerous event because you're running down the runway with a 15 to 16 foot pole in your hand, running at 90% of your speed and planting it in a box, having that hollow fiberglass pole bend and hopefully catapult you in the air.
Holy Christ. Oh,
I've heard some pretty bad horror stories, and I've broken poles myself. I had 10 stitches put in my hand because a pole broke and the vibration split my hand open between my thumb and first finger.
2 months ago, I just was running a little bit too fast, and when I planted, I went over the pit. I landed at the back of the pit. I went off the end and smacked my head on the concrete. Now, that caused me to end up in the hospital. If you miss a pit, you could break a leg or break an arm. Then, unfortunately, there's athletes who have died.
Okay, now you're structuring the arms too much. You're planting and you're locking it in here. Let it in and then take it up.
Okay.
Let it in and
If
take
a
the knee.
decathlete can pole vault, then that is a plus. You have to have a degree of fearlessness. You have to have a degree of recklessness, and you have to be a little crazy, And to be a decathlete, you got to be a little crazy too. The demands of the training and the demands of the event are too great for someone who is not totally committed to it to succeed. The heart is as important as anything. It's a super challenge.
What kind of person is likely to succeed at it? What does it take to make the grade?
I think the key for me is just that I love it so much.
I've had a real good year. I ran the fastest 100 meters I ever ran. I long jumped the farthest. I've thrown a shot the farthest.
It's all a matter of emotion.
Yeah, I'm on the eat all diet. Anything I see, I usually try to eat. I usually eat good food, though.
I just try to be smart and eat well-balanced meals, just like your mother tells you.
In large quantities, both hands.
A lot of people say that people do the decathlon because they're mediocre athletes and they can't find a single event that they can do very well to compete with everybody else. Maybe in the old days, but not anymore.
In the history of the modern Olympics, an American athlete has won the decathlon all but 5 times. Today's decathletes have a strong tradition to live up to, but they compare very favorably to the champions of yesterday. If Tony Allen Cooksey were to long jump against all the American gold medal winners, he would outjump everyone except Bill Toomey. Toomey would beat him by only 2 3/4 inches. If Robert Baker were in a 1,500-meter race with all 15 of the greatest decathletes in history, no one would be within 13 seconds of him at the finish. And he would actually lap Jim Bausch, the 1932 champion, and Bill Toomey, the 1968 gold medalist. Even though today's decathlete might be superior to yesterday's champions in some individual events, his greatest challenge is to reach maximum potential in all 10 events over a 2-day period. The closer he comes to equaling a world record in each of the 10 events, the more points are awarded to him. Each event could count for 1,000 points or more. The best scores fall in the 8,000 to 8,700 range. It's not so important that he wins each event. It's more important to never perform poorly enough in any one event to drag down his overall score. Perfect balance in all things. The goal of the ancient Greeks is also the ultimate goal of the decathlete. A decathlete who is fast in the sprint events is often correspondingly weak in the throws, and if he's strong in throwing, he's usually a slow runner. Coach Wolfgang Linkman, who trains decathletes at UCLA, explains why.
Events, you have to have a certain balance within your body. You have to have a certain muscle strength in your upper body as well as in your lower body to do the throws and do the jumps and do all your runs. So balance is the most difficult thing to accomplish within a body structure of a decathlete.
Bruce Jenner in the Montreal Olympics only won one event, yet his consistency in all events earned him more points than any other decathlete up to that time, 8,671.
To make the U.S. Olympic team, I think is probably going to have to take probably 8,200 points.
To compete in Olympic Games, for example, to be in medal contention, it's going to take at least 8,500 points, probably more.
Can computers help decathletes score more points? Coming up next on the Olympic Moment. Can computers be used to help athletes perform better? Professor Ron Zernike is attempting to find out by studying human movement at the UCLA laboratories.
The equipment that's being used here is equipment which will do projection of film. For instance, high-speed films would be taken of an individual during a sport activity, and then those individual films could be projected frame by frame onto a digitizing surface. For instance, what may be useful would be to determine how could you then increase the effective force that's being applied at the hand to the javelin. The information then that's generated by the computer is then put out to, for instance, a plotter. And a plotter then can draw stick figures or graphs.
Computers can be a big help in aiding an athlete's training, but not as a replacement for hard work.
You can give a person all the numbers, all the graphs that you can muster, but if it isn't interpreted by that athlete, it's not going to do any good.
You still have to have the human element. The researcher has to interact with the coach, work with the coach and with the athlete to then say, these are things that you probably could change to make your throw a bit more coincident with the very best in the world.
Up with it. When you can pass that pendulum vertical again, then bring it in, take it up.
Somebody, and I'll use Jim Thorpe for an example, before they had computers, he saw someone do a motion and he copied it. He got a mental image, and that was the best computer in the world right there.
It's difficult to predict for certain which decathletes will represent America in the 1984 Olympic Games. But many experts feel that Mark Anderson from Los Angeles will be part of the U.S. Olympic team. He's scored over 8,100 points and was a national champion in college.
I was a premature baby, believe it or not. I was born and I weighed 2 pounds, 2 ounces. I wasn't even expected to live. When I was approximately 5 years old, my father passed away, and I was left there with a mother and 3 sisters, and I had a stepfather, which we never got along. It was a rough time of my life from 5 until 16. And at age 16, I just really couldn't handle anymore, and I had to leave home at that time. And since then, I've been on my own. After that, I got into junior college, and I became a high jumper because I always had that skill of good jumping ability, so I tried high jumping. And I did fairly well as a high jumper. I went 7 foot my first year.
An Olympic caliber athlete like Anderson has his own special way of approaching the event.
I have to look at each event as a different character. I take the 100 meters and you've got to be fast, powerful, explosive, so you've got to be that type of a character. Then you go directly from there to the long jump and you've got to be a kind of a jumping, spirited type of person to get up in the air and really do your best performance in that event. And then from there, you go to the shot put and you've got to be an animal. And that really is what takes more of it out of you than anything else, I think.
There are two outstanding decathletes who lead the rest of the world going into the Olympics.
Daley Thompson from Great Britain and Jürgen Hinkson from West Germany. And both have set world records this last year, and they are a cut above the rest of the world at this point.
Daley Thompson has been a decathlete for about six years longer than I have, which gives him an edge over me at this point because he's more mature at his events. As far as natural ability, I think I have more natural ability than him. I'm stronger, I'm bigger, and I'm right there with him in speed. So I put myself right on a level of Daley Thompson, and I feel that by 1984 that I can exceed that level. And if everything goes correctly, I feel that I can be the one with the edge over him at that time. My short-term goal is to be healthy and train properly and train smart. My long-term goal is to win a gold medal and break the world record.
Within each human heart exists the urge to seek glory, to be fastest, to be farthest, to be highest, to go where no other can. But few among us are willing to pay the price for such an experience. In part, that is why the world loves the Olympics. For through these special men and women, we are allowed for a fleeting moment to share in their greatness. We owe a great debt to those who would share with us their moment of glory, their Olympic moment.